G'day watchers, welcome to Perth Watch, your horology channel broadcasting from right here in Perth, Western Australia. Today I have my first piece from Electra watches and now it comes in this particular leather box packaging, which kind of looks like a little leather suitcase. It's kind of cute actually. Now Electra is a brand which apparently is a French name, started in the 1960s and made automatic mechanical pieces, but went into defunct in the late 70s or early 80s with the quartz crisis, but now revived after more than 40 years. That is the story behind their brand. Take a look on the website for more details if you wish to find out more about Electra. Now this particular leather suitcase type of packaging, not bad actually, despite leather not being the most smooth surface with a bit of grip there. That box spin rating, I reckon, is at least 3.5 out of 5 there. Now it does come in an external packaging, which I didn't bother showing because that's just the transport box, but it does have that speedboat type of picture at the top there, which presumably is part of the inspiration behind the brand and the logo there, but there's nothing specific on it on this watch or the website actually. So let me know if you know better than me about Electra as a brand. Now opening this up, that's just how it does. A little button there, and this doubles as a nice travel case, which is really kind of cool. I really like that there is more functionality to that particular packaging. Now taking out the watch here and showing these to you in closer detail, look at that sunburst. It is like no one's business. So this is the Electra Meca Chronograph in golden sand color. Now it does come in a rust color, a purpley color, a bluebird color as well as a green. So check out the website if you wish to take a closer look at the other models available. Now the retail price for this £399, but right now, as I just checked, £299 on sale, and perhaps that is the more realistic discussion price when talking about this watch here. Okay, first up, as I usually do, let's talk about the movement. Now this is of course a Mecha-Quartz hybrid flyback chronograph movement. This is the VK63 from Seiko. You've seen this in other watches that I have reviewed. It's unfortunately, this particular movement has a ghost date on this watch here. It is not a no-date movement. There is a ghost date you can feel flicking over when you engage the crown. It's got a 1/5 central seconds hand, which shows the chronograph movement, and it's got the 60-minute totalizer at the 9 o'clock position. You can see counting through now as I show this watch running on the chronograph. 24-hour sub-dial at the 3 o'clock position, and running seconds at the 6 o'clock position here. Okay, before we move on any further, I want to show you the operation of the chronograph here. So you can see that running seconds counting. I'm just going to let it go about 10 seconds past the 12 o'clock mark. Hopefully that's pretty clear. So, 8, 9, so about 10 seconds. I'm going to show how it looks like when it resets. So remember the totalizer for minutes at the 9 o'clock there. So just resetting it now, and that's how it functions. Okay, just going to run it, for the rest of the video now. Case-wise, this is a 40mm case, presumably 316L steel. It really does have that type of feel to it, although not specifically stipulated. 13.6mm on the thickness, 20mm lug width as you would expect, and a lug-to-lug distance of 48mm between my thumbnails there. Overall weight on this rubber strap, 104 grams. So it's relatively light thanks to the rubber that this is on. In terms of finishing, circular brushing for the top of the case there, long brush on the sides, circular brushing at the bottom surfaces under the lugs there, and it's got a fairly nicely polished bevel. The case is actually very, very solid feeling. It reminds me of Spinnaker level cases actually, if you ask me. Now the case back, polish and stamp design. You can see that Electra logo there. Screw down case back. It's got a screw down main crown. The chronograph pushers, they're not specifically screw secured here, but most aren't. Overall, the water resistant rating on this watch comes in at 100 meters. Now, moving on to the dial now. Now, this dial is a super sunburst. Really, it really is sunburst like nothing else that I've ever seen, I have to say here. This is a white gold type of dial. They call it the golden sand, so it evokes golden beaches. It's got applied indices, 12 indices, as well as the logo. It's got printed chapter here. It's got those colored sundials, there's two blue colored sundials and kind of a similar main colored in the 6 o'clock position here. And those subdials have azurage texture, very difficult to see, I think, unless you look very closely, but hopefully my zoom in, pictures and videos can show some of that. It's got printed chapter markings around the periphery, as well as a printed tachymeter on the black colored flange here. Now the hands, arrow hands for the main arrow for the main hand, a baton for the main hour hand, arrow for the main seconds. Now the hands, it's got an arrow minute for the main minute hand, as well as a simple baton for the main hour hand, a stick blue tip chronograph hand here, and batons on the sub-registers, just simple batons here. And lume-wise, it's got blue colored, and I assume this is BGW9 on all 12 indices, 2 main hands, as well as all 3 subdials, and a full bezel as well in terms of glowing. But curiously, they haven't put lume on the chronograph hand, so you can't read the chronograph in the dark, or at least not the running seconds anyway. And the lume shot right here, of course, for you guys to see how it looks like in the dark. Okay, moving on then. So surrounding the dial is a bezel with an aluminium insert, right? PVD coating. As I said, it was full lume. It's bidirectional rotating, which suits this watch very, very well. It's kind of like a sports timing watch rather than a dive watch. So nice that they've gone for that with no clicks at all. And on top of the dial, a flat sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating, which works pretty well actually. You can still see some reflections, but day to day, this functions very nicely, I have to say. Okay, moving on to the strap then. This is just a simple FKM rubber strap, nothing special about it. It's, got a fixed keeper here and then a secondary keeper here. It does have quick release spring bars and matching brushed hardware here. 20 millimeters at the case and tapers to 18 millimeters. Nothing much more really to say about that. Okay, so that's the entire description of a watch. Let's put on the wrist for a wrist shot for you guys now. And there you go, the Electra Meca Chronograph on my 17 centimeter diameter wrist. So remember, it is actually 13.6 millimeters tall, 48 millimeter lug to lug width. Has fairly good presence. In fact, it's kind of like Rolex Daytona type of size, isn't it? Okay, and that's how it looks like on the rubber strap. Okay, so what have I enjoyed about this? What are the strengths? I think overall, this is a pretty good looking tool piece, which I think can serve as an everyday piece. It's kind of like good enough to serve in most areas with that 100-meter water resistance rating, and classy looking enough to wear almost anywhere, including with shirt and ties. So it could serve as an everywhere watch, just about. A very, very solid case, I have to say. Spinnaker level, good quality finishing case. Nothing really to complain. Hefty as well in the hand here. And overall, a pretty solid package, right? So it's got that Seiko VK movement. It's got a very thick sapphire crystal. And as I say, it's really quite solid. The sapphire and the sapphire, this is definitely on the thick side. Doesn't feel like $100 Pagani type of sapphire. And overall, a nice and also a very nicely done, very, very bright dial. Really attractive looking. I have had comments, people saying this is a good looking watch. And good lume. The lume is excellent, lasts us through the night, and presumably is Super Luminova BGW9. Any weaknesses? Well, look, I think The thickness could be trimmed, 13.6 with a quartz movement. I've had thinner watches than this with the VK movements. Maybe the sapphire is very solid, but I have a feeling they perhaps could trim that thickness a little bit, and this would, overall improve the watch. There is no lume on the chronograph hand, as I have mentioned earlier, and I think the hands overall have relatively low contrast, especially the main hands. Could do maybe with a different color, maybe with dark outline, who knows. It may change the look completely, but in some lighting conditions, it is difficult to read the time. You have to look quite closely to pick out the hands from the very light background, light hands on light background. That's really what makes it difficult sometimes. And then lastly, you look at that 12 o'clock indice. It's got a 1, 2 in there, a 12 in there. Not sure why that needs to be there. I think they could have left that off because that probably removes rather than adds to the watch, in my opinion. And then the price, right? With micro brands always comes into contention. £399, 400 pounds might be a tad high for many people to consider, but I think in the discussion, £299 is more realistic. That is the current price on sale, and that's probably where you expect it to really move. So let me know if you think that is fair value or not. So there you go, guys. My review of the Electra Meca Chronograph in golden sand colorway. Let me know what you think. It's really been quite nice to wear this, but I look forward to the comments and the discussions below. Thank you as always for joining me on this review. As always, I catch you guys next time.